The United States is tightening the noose around Iran. For more than a week, American aircrafts and also missiles have struck command centers, missiles and drone storage sites, air defensive systems, and naval facilities, including roads, bridges, rail lines, and communications networks. Explosions have moved from the Persian Gulf Coast towards the Iranian interior. An American base in Jordan has been hit. United States troops have been killed, and military facilities across the region are operating under the threat of additional Iranian attacks. Warships are applying pressure around the Strait of Hormuz. Tankers are changing their routes, and every new strike is making the battlefield wider, sharper, and more dangerous. So, what happens when a conventional war begins to reach the limits of conventional weapons? The campaign against Iran is no longer only about destroying the launchers or intercepting the drones. The United States is attacking the system that allows the Iranian military to function, like roads and rail lines, move missiles, fuel, and ammunition. Makes it very hard for the Iranians now. Bridges connect coastal bases with storage areas further inland. Communications network transmit orders and targeting informations. Radar sites help Iran detect approaching aircrafts. When these links are attacked together, the objective is to reduce the regime's ability to coordinate, resupply, and respond. Military planners call this shaping the battlefield. It can support the blockade, prepare the way for additional airstrikes, isolate a target before a special operation, or create the conditions for ground forces. It does not prove that an invasion has been ordered. The same actions preserve several options at once, forcing Tehran to prepare for pressure from the air, sea, cyber domain, or special operations. But there is another signal coming from the United States of America, and it is much larger than the current war. Because while American forces are using conventional weapons against Iran, the United States has accelerated the work on the new nuclear gravity bomb known as the B-61-13. It is designed to strengthen the bombers. It carries a much larger explosive yield than the B-61-12 that preceded it, and it is intended to give the president another option against the hardened military targets and large military complexes that may be difficult to destroy with existing weapons. That does not mean that the United States is preparing to drop a nuclear bomb on Iran. There is no public evidence that the B-61-13 has been assigned to Iran, to the Strait of Hormuz, or to any specific underground facility, but the timing matters because the weapon tells us how the Pentagon is thinking about the future. America is preparing for enemies that place their most valuable assets underneath the ground, surround them with air defenses, and assume that depth alone can protect them. First, we need to correct one common description. The B-61-13 is often called a tactical nuclear bomb. That's not the most accurate classification. The wider B-61 family has included both tactical and strategic versions. But the B-61-13 is being certified for delivery by strategic bomber aircrafts and will be stored inside the United States. In American nuclear doctrine, that makes it a strategic weapon. It's not intended to be carried by a frontline fighter and dropped like an ordinary battlefield bomb. It belongs to the part of the arsenal designed to influence wars, governments, and national survival. The word gravity and gravity bomb can also be misleading. It does not mean that the weapon is primitive. It means that the bomb is released from an aircraft and falls towards its target rather than flying under its own rocket power like a ballistic or cruise missile. Modern gravity bombs can still use advanced guidance systems. The B-6113 is expected to use many of the safety, security, and accuracy features developed for the B-6112, including a modern tail assembly that helps guide the weapon after release. Accuracy is extremely important because accuracy in modern warfare is super important and it matters, especially if you're talking about nuclear planning. A more accurate weapon does not need to compensate for a large missed distance in the same way that an older bomb did. It can place its destructive force closer to the exact point that the planners want to attack, and that can make a weapon more effective against a hardened target. But it also does not make the explosion clear, small, or safe, because it's still a nuclear bomb. A nuclear detonation still produces extreme heat, blast pressure radiation, and potentially radioactive fallout. Precision changes where the weapon lands. It makes a difference. Everything matters. It does not remove the nature of the weapon. It's still a nuclear bomb. And if you love TBN Israel and want to be part of what God is doing in this land and help us share the truth, especially now, we have something very special for you. If you visit our official online store, shop.tbnisrael.com, you can find high-quality TBN Israel merchandise just like this shirt. I have this shirt in all kinds of colors. You might have seen me. I prefer the black. It's my favorite, and I have like maybe 10 of them. So these are items that help you stay connected with what's happening in Israel, help you share the truth, the message, and support our mission of bringing truth, hope, and faith straight from Israel to the nations. You can also get the Boots on the Ground complete set, which features the full collection, connecting our Boots on the Ground reports with you, and save $9 on this bundle if you use the code BOTG-SET at the checkout. Again, that's BOTG-SET at the checkout, and get the complete set for just $99, because every purchase that you make helps strengthen our work here on the ground and allows us to continue reporting, teaching, and sharing what's happening in Israel from a biblical perspective. So whether you're looking for just a meaningful gift, something to wear that represents your faith, or a simple way to stand with Israel, we invite you to visit our store today. Go to shop.tbnisrael.com. Again, that's shop.tbnisrael.com, and be part of the mission. B-61, number 13, is expected to use a warhead based on the older B-61-7. The United States had not publicly released every technical detail, but it does not officially publish the precise maximum yield in the way that people often expect. Independent nuclear analysis estimate that its highest yield will be approximately 360 kilotons. That's roughly 24 times the explosive energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. That comparison needs context. 24 times the explosive energy does not mean 24 times the destruction radius. Terrain, altitude, weather, detonation, height, and building strength all affect the result. Even so, a weapon in this class could devastate a large military complex and cause catastrophic damage far beyond the target. The B-6113 is also not simply a larger version of the Hiroshima bomb. Hiroshima was destroyed by a fission weapon. In this kind of a bomb, heavy atoms such as uranium or plutonium are split, releasing a tremendous amount of energy. Modern high-yield nuclear weapons are generally thermonuclear. They use a fusion explosion as the first stage, which creates the conditions for a second stage involving a nuclear fusion. Fusion is the same basic process that powers the sun, although a weapon releases that energy in an uncontrolled fraction of a second. This two-stage design allows far greater explosive power than the first generation of the atomic bombs. The B-6113, therefore, belongs to the hydrogen bomb era, not the simpler atomic bomb era of 1945. Its combination of compact size, accuracy, and yield is what makes it strategically significant. But can it destroy a deeply buried nuclear facility? What do you think? So the answer is complicated. The B-6113 is not publicly described as a dedicated Earth-penetrating weapon. The United States already has a B-6111, a nuclear bomb designed to penetrate the ground before detonating. Even then, no bomb can simply drill hundreds of feet through solid mountain rock. Earth penetration is limited by physics. A weapon striking the ground at high speed experiences enormous stress. If it goes too fast, it can destroy itself. If it does not penetrate far enough, much of the energy escapes upward and outwards. A nuclear weapon can still threaten a deep underground complex without reaching the main chamber. The detonation can send shockwaves through the earth, collapse the entrances, destroy the ventilation and the power, damage the tunnels, and trap equipment underground. But the deeper and stronger the target, the less certain that the result will be the destruction of the target itself. So military planners must study geology, construction, depth, access points, and hidden exits. A nuclear weapon is therefore not automatically the perfect bunker buster. Conventional strikes may repeatedly collapse the entrances and destroy support systems without crossing the nuclear threshold. Cyber operations, sabotage, intelligence penetration, or special forces may offer other ways to disable that site. Nuclear weapons became relevant only when leaders believed that the target is extremely important and cannot be reliably destroyed by any other means. And this is where the B-6113 fits. The Pentagon has said that the bomb will provide additional options against certain harder large-area military targets. The phrase large-area military targets is important. This weapon is not only about a single underground chamber. It may also be intended for sprawling military installations, command complexes, hardened missile sites, or strategic facilities where one high-yield weapon could destroy several connected elements at once. The bomb is expected to be carried by strategic aircrafts such as the B-2 Spirit and, in the future, the B-21 Raider. Their stealth and the range are designed for heavily defended airspaces. A bomber also gives the president something that a ballistic missile cannot provide: recall. It can be launched as a signal and turn back before the release. That makes a nuclear-capable bomber both a weapon and also a message. So what you see on YouTube is only part of the story, because TBN Israel brings honest first-hand coverage from the ground in Israel to viewers around the world. So if you want to be part and receive daily updates behind the scene to get a closer and a first-hand report and stories of faith, resilience, and hope from Israel, go to tbn.org/journeys/boots or text boots to 316-316 for direct updates from TBN Israel, from Mati Shoshani and myself, Yair Pinto, from the land. We need your help in sharing the truth and in praying for the peace of Jerusalem. You can do that also by hitting the subscribe button, leaving a comment, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your friends. Now let's get back to this B-6113 program that moved unusually quickly. The first production unit was completed in May 2025. nearly 1 year ahead of the original schedule. When in July 2026, the National Nuclear Security Administration announced that all of the canned sub-assembles planned for the 2026 physical year had been completed 3 months early. A canned sub-assembly is a critical component associated with the secondary stage of the thermonuclear weapon. When those units receive their official diamond stamp, they're certified as meeting the quality requirements for a nuclear stockpile. The phrase 3 months early sounds as if the United States suddenly rushed an entire nuclear bomb into service because of the war with Iran. That's not what happened, because the first production unit had already been completed in 2025. The new announcement concerned the scheduled internal components for fiscal year of 2026, so completing them early matters. Nuclear weapons require specialized materials, secure facilities, strict quality controls, and rare technical expertise. So finishing ahead of schedule shows that the United States is rebuilding a production system that slowed after the Cold War, while sending a deterrent message to every government watching American military capabilities. The B-6113 does not officially increase the total size of the planned American nuclear stockpile. The United States intend to produce it within the number of B-6112 bombs that had already been planned. In other words, some planned B-6112 production will be replaced by B-6113 production. And the goal is not simply to add more bombs. It is to change the mix of capabilities that are available to the President of the United States. This also connects to the future of the B-83-1, which is the most powerful gravity bomb remaining in the active American arsenal. The B-83-1 has a maximum yield of approximately 1.2 megatons, far greater than the estimated yield of the B-6113. But the B-83 is an older version, and the United States has been moving towards its retirement. The B-6113 does not fully replace that enormous explosive power. Instead, it provides a newer, more accurate, and more flexible option for some of the missions that planners worry could be lost as the B-83 leaves service. And now we return to the central question. Under what circumstances could the United States actually use the B-6113? Have any ideas? Let me know in the comments before I continue. Okay, so the American policy does not provide a simple public checklist. The stated position is that nuclear weapons would be considered only in extreme circumstances to defend the vital interests of the United States, its allies, or its partners. The decision to authorize this use belongs to the President of the United States. Congress does not have to vote before the President can issue a nuclear use order. Although the military chain of command must verify that the order is authentic and lawful. In practice, using the B-6113 would be one of the most consequential decisions in history. The President would have to consider military necessity, civilian casualties, fallout, allied reactions, and the danger of a wider escalation. He would also have to decide whether a nuclear strike would achieve the objective or create a larger strategic disaster. Against Iran, the threshold would be especially high. Iran does not currently possess a dedicated operational nuclear arsenal. Using an American nuclear weapon against a non-nuclear armed state would break a taboo that has held since 1945. It could isolate the United States diplomatically, trigger retaliation across the Middle East, endanger the American forces, and encourage more countries to pressure and pursue nuclear weapons of their own. That's why the most likely role of the B-6113 is deterrence. Its purpose is to make an enemy uncertain. A government building a deep bunker must ask whether the bunker is deep enough. A military commander moving assets underground must ask whether those assets can still survive. A nuclear-armed rival must ask whether an attack on the United States or its allies could place even its most protected facilities at risk. Deterrence works, but through fear. But it also works through doubt. The enemy does not need to know exactly how the bomb would be used. It only needs to believe that the United States has a credible weapon, a capable delivery aircraft, and a president who could authorize the mission under extreme conditions. The current war with Iran gives this discussion immediate relevance, but it should not be allowed to restore and to distort the facts. The B-6113 is not a normal weapon for the campaign over the Strait of Hormuz. It's not a substitute for Tomahawk missiles, bunker-busting conventional bombs, naval blockades, or air defensive suppression. It's a strategic reserve for a crisis in which the president believes that the ordinary military tools are no longer enough. For now, the United States still has many conventional options. It can keep attacking missiles and missile forces, command centers, naval units, logistical routes, air defenses, and underground entrances. It can tighten the blockade, use cyber and intelligence operations, reinforce allies, and reposition forces without crossing the nuclear threshold. But every conventional strike also carries a message about escalation. Iran is being shown that its military infrastructure can be mapped, isolated, and attacked. The B-6113 adds a darker message behind that campaign. It tells Tehran and every other adversary that the United States is also modernizing the weapons that it reserves for the most extreme possible war. The B-6113 is not proof that the United States is preparing to use a nuclear weapon against Iran. It is proof that Washington wants every enemy to know that even the deepest target may no longer be beyond its reach. So thank you so much for being with us. If you want to help us share the truth from Jerusalem about what's happening in this war between the United States, Iran, and Israel, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know where you're watching from. It really encourages me and helps us reach more people around the world. The best thing that you can do in this situation is to pray, because this is a spiritual war. And here at TBN Israel, we believe that prayer works. So I'm calling on all of you to unite in prayer for wisdom to our leaders, for the people on the ground, for a change of heart for our enemies, for the children to have a better future, and for the peace of Jerusalem, this city that you can see here right behind me. God is listening, so be encouraged and keep praying.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.